Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about TV, movies, and online content and help you answer the question, is enforcing an embargo at a film festival a draconian form of authority and control? No, just follow the rules. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today is Dylan Blight.
Hey, number one Bachelor in Launceston's Paradise. That's the show, and that's me.
And also joining us is Nicholas Pryor. Yep. All right, we got a big one for you. We're going to be talking about everything that's in our watch history. We'll be talking about film news. We'll be doing our Emmy predictions, and then we'll be talking about everything we ended up watching this week. The pilots or first episodes for When They See Us, Succession, Veep, and Barry. Oh, it's a big one. Barry! Yes, what a name. We'll kick things off. So in the past fortnight, I saw The Farewell, the much highly praised film that came out of Sundance earlier in this year. I've got a review up at explosionnetwork.com. I gave it a 9.5. I think it's probably the best thing I've seen so far this year. I
think it's also your best review, Ash.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, there's my praise for the review, because I haven't seen the movie, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah.
But continue.
So it pretty much follows the story of Awkwafina's character, who's an Asian American from China. Her grandmother, it turns out, this isn't a spoiler, it's like the setup for the film. Her grandmother is diagnosed with a terminal disease, and their family decides they're going to not tell the grandmother. And then they decide to all go to China and spring her cousin's wedding to have an excuse to go see her before she dies. And it is just one of the most moving. It is still funny. It doesn't get too morose or anything. It is really interestingly shot. I think it was pretty beautiful, considering it's China and it's not exactly the most. It's shot in a place that is not aesthetically pleasing by any means. But I think Awkwafina gives an amazing performance. I think we've seen her pretty much in a bunch of comedies since she broke out, I think, last year, arguably. I think she was in like Ocean's 8 and Crazy Rich Asians, which were the two big things people probably know her for. But yeah, she gets to show her dramatic chops in this as well. There's a lot of like moments where everybody in this family is struggling with not being able to tell the grandmother what's happening. But the real star is Zhao Shuzhen, who plays the grandmother, or Nai, as she's which is the Mandarin term for grandmother. She is just a delight to watch on screen. She's like got this great energy and charm about her, which just makes it even more difficult watching everybody lie to her and like not tell her the truth that she's actually dying. Yeah, it's sort of, they don't go into the morals a lot, but they like discuss it a little bit. It's more about Awkwafina, I guess, struggling to deal with not being in China and accepting that part of her and the American way of life and the Chinese way of life and that kind of thing. So yeah, it is one of the best films of the year so far.
Why is it when I Google Awkwafina, all I can find is bottled water?
What?
I Googled Awkwafina and all it is bottled water.
You spelt it wrong, that's why. Freaking hell. Alright, yeah. So definitely check it out if it's playing near you. It's always a struggle, so. Dylan?
Awkwafina,
yeah. I might have been pronouncing it wrong this whole entire time. I know I spelt it right because I had to double check like 6 times. There's a W that I didn't expect. There's too many W's in that name. Sorry. Dylan, you watched both It and It Chapter 2 this past fortnight. How was that double feature? How do you feel about the It Chapter 2?
I'm glad that I watched the first one, like, I think a day or two. It was like 2 days before, because it made going into part 2 more enjoyable because it's basically one very long movie. But I'm glad I didn't do them as a like back-to-back double feature, because It Chapter 2 is fucking nearly 3 hours, and that's just that would have been very, very long. I know they did a screening at my movie theater where they did part 1 and then part 2. I'm like, fuck that shit. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so rewatch part one. Part one's still great. Fun characters, good scares, still pretty bad CGI. But the characters are the reason to watch it. And I would say that It Chapter 2 is less scary, but at the same time, I don't really think it's supposed to be as much about the scares as the first film is. I would say that It Chapter 2 is more about the characters, even more so than the first movie. And like the majority of what's supposed to be scary is actually... And as much as I haven't read the novel, I've always heard that people talk about the novel like as much as Pennywise is the terror, the movie's more about real world terror. And I would say that the terrors in the second film are more about the characters in that dealing with their real life trauma. It's still like, I think one jump scare kind of like got me for a second, but other than that, I would say it definitely wasn't like watching the part one. The part one, watching that in theaters, I was like several times like, "Ooh," every fucking jump scare got me, I think, in that one. But yeah, this one was a lot more invested in the characters and the actors. And I would say whoever the casting director was for this deserves props straight away for the casting each actor that did to carry on from the kids from the first movie. Even though the kids are still quite heavily in this because the movie actually cuts backwards and forwards a lot, which... Again, as much as I haven't read the actual novel, I have read enough about the novel to know that the novel actually just goes backwards and forwards the entire thing, which is why it was always this whole thing of like separating the story into like the kids part and then the adults part. That's what the 1990s movie did, and then like this version of it continued that trend. But then it kind of makes it weird that part 2 like kind of ditches that and goes, well, we'll kind of just shoot it the way the novel would have told the story. And they kind of just cut backwards and forwards between adult scenes and then kid scenes that are both scenes that we've already seen before and also new scenes. And they're probably the worst parts of the movie in some places because they've had to CGI the fucking kids. Like they've done de-aging on the kids and it looks really weird. Like, well... It's weird because it doesn't look bad. It's just one of those things where you know your brain is saying that this isn't right. Like it something's off enough. And also the audio feels really weird. It's like they're lip syncing, like they'd CGI'd the face and then they've had to like lip sync the audio up to like a CGI face or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, we're living in a world where there's CGI de-aging fucking kid actors 2 years after they've done a fucking movie.
That's the
like,
future.
Come on.
I assume Finn Wolfhard would be the one that's most notable, seeing as you've seen him in other stuff recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That apparently he was also the one that they had to de-age the most because apparently he's grown up the most since.
Yeah, I think he's shot up height-wise as well.
Since I did the first part. So James McAvoy plays the lead of Bill in this, and he's really good. He gets the stutter thing down quite well from which the kid in the first movie did as well, which is that Bill as a character, like especially showing in the adult version, he doesn't have the stutter at the start of the movie, but then once he gets back into the scares start coming and whatever else, and he starts getting stressed, and he gets like the stutter starts happening again and stuff, like carries on quite well. Jessica Chastain's quite good as Beverly, although I'd say they kind of shafted their character somewhat, and by the end I don't feel like she's really had enough. She really didn't get enough time to overcome her major plot point in this movie, which I don't know, slight spoilers, I guess, for the setup of the movie, but like when you reintroduce to her character in this movie as an adult, she's in a marriage where her husband is like beating her up and shit. And I feel like they didn't, by the end, I didn't feel like they really resolved or dived into that enough for her character. Bill Hader is really, really fantastic in this and definitely proves that. I think between this and Barry, which we'll talk about later, he's kind of proving that he has legit
acting chops.
Yeah, legit acting chops, that's for sure. And even like Barry in this, they're so different. And it's weird because in this movie, he plays like the kind of joking character, but it's not the joking character that he's ever played before. There's like a clear distinction between this and like every Seth Rogen movie he's been in where he plays like Bill Hader doing comedy. And this is like completely different. But also his story in this movie is, I'm kind of in a weird place with it where I feel like they did it just, and I can't say it without spoilers, but like they do what his biggest fear is and what he's going through in life. They do tackle it, but I would say that they didn't tackle it like front on enough, especially because, and fuck it, this is literally, the movie opens, right? So It Chapter 1 opens with the scene of, what's the fucking brother's name? I can't remember his name. The kid gets his arm ripped off. His younger brother. Georgie, right? So Georgie gets his arm ripped off, and that's how the first movie opens. This movie, part 2 opens with another, like, prologue scene of some characters dying. And those characters are 2 gay dudes who basically get bashed at this theme park and then beaten up, and then they fucking left for dead, basically. And then Pennywise kind of shows up, and it's like, oh shit, Pennywise is back. So for a movie that opens with, like, such a major thing, I'll say that overall this movie, and it's the way it dives into some really fucked up themes, be it that or like Beverly and her abusive relationship and stuff, it never quite lands the mark enough for me on any of the fronts. But it's still really enjoyable, and the characters are really good, and the scares are good. The CGI is still trash, and there's way more CGI in this than the first part. I knew, because I've watched the original 90s movie, I know kind of how the movie ends, and I was wondering if they would change it at all. They don't. So if you know what I'm talking about from the 90s movie, that's still a thing, and it still doesn't look great. And that still exists, so be prepared for that. But otherwise, it's like, watch it for the characters, less for the horror stuff, I would say.
Do you think they added the kids back into this second part because they don't trust the general moving-going audience to come into it and know who's who and what's going on?
I think they kind of had to, because a lot of the elements they introduce, like the adult characters and like what they're dealing with, to really sell home what each of their things is. I think they didn't trust the audience to be able to do it subtly. Like they had to have these flashback scenes for the kids, not to be like, hey, remember that this character is this character, but to actually be like, this adult version of a character is dealing with this trauma as an adult because of this thing that happened as a kid, which they subtly hint at, of course, in part 1, but all of the flashback scenes really home in what is actually going on. Over the
head with it.
A little bit too much, I would say. Yeah. And my major problem is it's like, why switch to doing it kind of like the book and having back forth constantly if in part 1 you weren't doing that? Like if part 1 started with back forth and part 2 continued back forth, it would be like, okay, yeah, I have no problem with that, but they didn't, so it's weird.
It's odd because do you think it would stand on it? Like it can be evaluated on its own without the first? Like,
no, it just feels like one very long movie. Like,
so I don't know why they cater to beating you over the head with it. If people were that invested to go to see part 2, I feel like they would, I don't know, appreciate the more subtlety more.
You'd think so. Yeah. If anything, well, I've always kind of...
Because in my mind, if it comes down to an executive decision, like, you got to make it more appealing to the general going audience, but you're not getting more people going to see that than you did the first one.
No. Well, this movie's made gangbusters money. It's already like the highest grossing sequel to a horror movie or something like that, I think I read. So it's worked, whatever they did, that's for sure. But
I wonder if it's based just on the reception of the original one.
I would assume
I guess
so.
Everyone kind of really loved the first one and the kids, so maybe that's another reason that they had to bring the kids back, just simply because they were a well-loved cast. So it's like, well, let's put more of the kids in it. We can have more of the kids in the trailer. Make sure to tell you that the kids are still in this along with the adult characters. And look, the thing is, the way I feel about this movie is much like the 90s version. The 90s version, which is a low budget, whatever version, way low budget version that this is exactly the same. Part 1 is a lot better than part 2. But I would say that part 1 and 2 of this is a lot closer than that, because I think part 2 of the original 90s thing is like a complete like down here. This is a lot closer, but I'd still say that part 1 as a standalone movie is a lot more enjoyable. Now, if I'm judging it, if I want to mush them both and just call it the movie that you can spread across 2 discs, then that's kind of looking at it in like the Kill Bill kind of way, because that's literally how it feels. It feels like it's just one very long movie. And if you view it that way, it's a great story, and it's quite a long story and whatever else. But apparently they're fucking working on a prequel as well. So,
oh god,
yeah, I was going to mention that. Apparently, Bill Skarsgård said they might do a third one that's a prequel to Everything in Explore Pennywise. before.
I don't like it.
No.
I don't like it. I
mean-
don't think Pennywise is a character we should be exploring because that's literally not the point of the movie.
Well, we'll get into it later. But it's interesting that you mentioned that. Do you reckon this would work as like the rumor going around is Quentin Tarantino is going to do another thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that he did with The Hateful Eight and make it a mini-series, cut it together to be like a mini-series. Do you think that would work for these two films? Like cut it together in a way that would work as like a mini-series on
Andy
like,
Muschietti or Muschietti or however you say his name, the director. I know he's previously talked about having a longer version of part 2, a director's cut that's like over 3 hours. And he's also previously talked about like in his spare time working on a cut of them all together. So, I mean, yes. But the thing is, in my dream world, if they're going to go in and they're going to mush part 1 and part 2 into one long thing that you could either just buy on Blu-ray or they stick on Netflix like a year from now or something. If you're going to do that, then fucking actually edit part 1 so it cuts backwards and forwards. So like from start to finish, it is more like the books, the way the book's told, where it's just cutting backwards and forwards constantly. Because if you're going to make it one very long miniseries, then there's no reason to actually split the adult and kid sections up anymore. Just do an ultra mix.
But could you do it in a way that would remove the terrible de-aging stuff?
I mean, no, because I mean, they need. It was mostly the sound. I'm telling you, the fucking sound is just off. There's something off about the sound. I don't know what it is. Can they fix that? Yes, but in the version I'm watching right now, there was something off.
Yeah. Okay. Seeing as I mentioned Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I've seen it now. I enjoyed it. Don't know if it's Quentin Tarantino's best movie, but it's an enjoyable film, and I would probably watch a miniseries if they did that. Apparently, they've got more footage with like James Marsden and Tim Roth and other people. So
they cut Tim Roth's character, and he's still in the credits. It's quite
I know it's funny. Yeah. So, Nick, I saw that you've been binge watching old episodes of Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. Is that in preparation of the movie coming out?
Got to get up to date for the canon.
Yeah.
Yes. I just because I wanted to. I had never seen it before, and I wanted to get.
What?
Yeah, I
my
just
God.
Never seen
it
any of
before.
them?
No.
Okay.
And then I wanted to, I don't know, get up to date just to catch any references, I guess.
I'm shook that you haven't seen it before. I thought it was just one of those things that, because you do like one or two a year, I guess, like randomly. And whenever one would randomly pop up over the years, it was always like, well, this is a must watch. I'm stopping whatever I'm doing right now to watch this because this was going to be funny. I'm surprised you haven't watched one.
Especially since first episode was January 4th, 2008. So for you've not to seen any of them is pretty bonkers. But you enjoy the format, enjoy the
Yeah,
things.
it's quite good.
And are you looking forward to the movie?
I am, because the trailer looked fucking hilarious.
It does.
Yeah, I've watched the trailer twice and I laughed both times. So
It's a good start. All right. I've been watching the Amazon Prime series Carnival Row. I'm about 3 episodes in. Stars Cara Delevingne and Orlando Bloom in some sort of like gothic world with fantasy elements. There's fairies and shit, mythical creatures all over the place. There's a bunch of racism or speciesism. I don't know what the correct term is. It's all right. I really don't care that much about anybody. I don't know. Yeah. Sort of the first 2 episodes that I watched, like, set up where everybody is now. And then obviously the 3rd episode is a flashback explaining the relationship between the 2 main characters who were once in love, but now there was a war and they got split up, and she thought he was dead, but he's not dead, clearly. But he's some sort of detective who needs to, there's some people wanting to kill the mythical creatures or some.
it's Wolf Among Us.
Maybe. And he's got a secret that's revealed in the 3rd episode that could change everything, that he hasn't told anybody. That if she told people, which would sort of ruin his life. But I don't know. It seems like more style over substance. There's like, it looks very pretty, and they do that Victorian Gothic world really nice. But I don't know. There's not too much substance, I feel, to the story.
Yeah, the main reason I've had intrigue since day one. Well, I haven't got to it simply because I've been quite busy the last week or so. But I still want to check it out just simply because of what you just said. From day one, since the trailers, I'm always like, I don't expect this to be high quality writing, but it does look like it's had a bunch of money like thrown at the screen, and I'm quite a fan of that whole like gothic fairy tale setting look and whatever else. So I do want to watch it just for that, you know, like, and as long as the story is like 6 out of 10, I feel. But I can just enjoy some eye candy, like a kind of zone out eye candy type show. Every once in a while, that's okay. And it kind of looks like it'll fill that.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. So I might watch some more, I might not. Who knows? There's not much to it.
Amazon throwing money at shows, though, between that and The Boys, which both cost a bunch of money. It's like,
well, they
Amazon's
have to do
like,
something.
One of these things better pay
well,
off.
I guess they don't need to do something, but between that, The Boys and Jack Ryan, which the new season looks crazy as well. They're jumping out of airplanes and shit. They're throwing some money at some of their big
They got
properties.
fuck you money.
Yeah, I guess, kind of. Speaking of Amazon Prime, Nick, you've been watching the latest season of Hard Knocks. It follows the Oakland Raiders.
What's that got to do with Amazon Prime?
That isn't it on Amazon Prime?
I don't believe so.
What'd you watch it on then?
NFL Game Pass.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure they are shown on Amazon Prime as well, so... I just assumed.
That was just the
way
weirdest segue in my mind.
Okay.
It's Hard Knocks. It's the Oakland Raiders this year, and it's great. All the drama with Antonio Brown has just made the season that much more entertaining. But I mean,
okay, for people who don't know, who's Antonio Brown and what's the story there?
We don't have all night. This is just a roller coaster going on with him. But for those who don't know, Hard Knocks is just for 5 episodes, a HBO film crew just goes into the training camp and pre-season of a particular team each season. And they just follow the development of the team and the rookies and the outcome and all that kind of stuff. It's it's entertaining even for people who aren't into football as well, because it's also a personal story of newcomers like trying to make it and veterans trying to prove themselves and stuff like that. But it's pretty good.
So do they actually go and see Antonio Brown stuff, or do they resolve that?
Some of it, yeah. Oh, well, it's not resolved now. There's still stuff coming out about 3 hours ago.
For those who don't know, Antonio Brown signed with the Oakland Raiders, fell out with the coach, and got cut, and is now signed with the Patriots. Is that a good description of the scenario?
Very, very broad terms, but
yes.
That's it. Yeah.
So, yes. So he went from the Oakland Raiders to the Super Bowl winners.
Yes.
Yeah, real tough. Are Oakland still in Oakland, or are they moved to LA yet?
They're moving to LA next season.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also saw that you watched a few episodes of What We Do in the Shadows, the American version of the New Zealand series created by Taika Waititi. The New Zealand movie created by Taika Waititi.
Yes.
What'd you think?
It's very much the same, like similar sort of premise. It's vampires in a house, and it's a mockumentary type of show. It's obviously different characters, and I mean, there's not a whole lot different from what I've seen so far. But if you're into that kind of, I guess, humor and mockumentary kind of stuff, I'd definitely suggest giving it a watch. But there's this one character they've added, which is an emotional vampire, which feeds off people's emotions, which is quite a funny character and premise. But other than that, if you saw the movie and enjoyed it, I definitely suggest giving it a run, especially because Tucker, whatever his name is, and the original writer are both heavily involved in it as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like a rip-off, it's a homage, I guess, or...
Just an adaptation, a true adaptation.
Yeah.
Yes.
True, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to see the rest of the season?
Oh, well, yeah.
Yep, cool. So I watched Robin Hood, the version last year starring Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx and Ben Mendelsohn, directed by Otto Bathurst. It's not great, but it's probably not as bad as it was panned last year. It's probably like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 movie. I like Taron Egerton. I think he's got, he's charismatic and that kind of thing. Jamie Foxx is like fine. He's like a badass. Little John, I guess, is the Robin Hood.
Is Little John in this?
That's what I just said. Jamie Foxx.
He plays Little John.
He plays a version of Little John.
The rapper.
Yeah. What?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. And then Ben Mendelsohn is there playing the same character. He's played in a bunch of movies as the Sheriff of Nottingham. So, what are you going to do?
All I know is we did a react to this trailer at some point last year, and there was a part in it that made me crack up laughing, so I stayed away from watching it.
Well, it's on Netflix. It's simple to watch. The other thing is Tim Minchin plays Friar Tuck, but I feel like he doesn't change his accent at all, which is a bit... Or only just, like tweaks it slightly.
Does Jamie Foxx change his accent?
Not really. Oh, but a little bit. He's meant to be like a... Whoever
Rapper.
the enemy is in the Crusades.
African Americans.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Terrible. Let's move on to the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. I watched the anime they released on Netflix. I think
Of course you did.
Exclusively, yeah, I'm on that kick.
Why don't you make a segment called Weebs with Ashley? Because we're getting to the point.
Yeah, okay.
Why don't you
Yeah,
write an
you
email
and
off?
Dash can do an anime show.
Hey,
No.
Madman Entertainment. We officially have started covering anime here at the Explosion Network. We do talk about the latest series every 2 weeks now on What Do You Want to Watch. Send me free shit.
Wow. Entitled much? So I watched the anime is called Carole and Tuesday. It's about two girls with different backgrounds who share a love for music and meet and change history with their united musical talent. It's pretty much like a American Idol-esque, I guess. That's the basic story of season 1. They get together, they start writing their own music, and then they enter some music competition. The thing that makes it interesting, I guess, is it's set on Mars in like 1,000 years or something in the future, and all music in the future is created by AI. So for two humans to write their own music is a like novel thing in this world. It's fun, it's charming. I mean, it's not not going to blow your mind. It's not the prettiest thing, but it is like a nice. I just watched all 10 episodes or 10 or 12 episodes they've got available just while I was doing some other stuff. But yeah, enjoyable. The music's pretty solid. Yeah. So listen to that on Spot. They've got all the music on Spotify if you want to check that out to get a taste of it. But yeah, worth checking out. And then I also watched Patton Oswalt's comedy special Annihilation. This one's significant because it was set after his first wife died suddenly. And just sort of like him talking about how he's dealing with it, and there's different comedy bits. But yeah, there's a certain energy in it. Obviously, it being his first thing after that such a traumatic event. So, and for him to joke about certain things, about how he had to break the news to his daughter and that kind of stuff. How he finds a way to make that, and any element of that funny is quite an achievement. So, I definitely recommend checking that out. All right, so that's everything that's been in our watch history. Let's jump into the film news. And the big one that's just broke today of recording. We got news on Apple TV Plus. Yeah, it's coming to Australia November 1st, and it's going to be $7.99 a month for up to 6 people in a family package. You'll be able to download and watch offline on your device or watch online, and the shows will be in 4K, HDR, and Dolby Atmos. You can check out our full write-up over at explosionnetwork.com where Dylan wrote it up. Dylan, is $7.99 a good entry point for this service that only has a couple of shows attached to it at the moment?
I was about to say, I don't really know because they still have yet to say if this is going to have any other licensed material on it at all. Like, it seems weird to, of course, not announce that yet because it's kind of right around the corner, but we still really don't know what the full thing is. Like, I don't know if at the last second they're going to be like, yeah, we've got a couple partners. Here's some like random shit as well. But going off what we do know, $7.99 gives you access to day one I think it's 8 shows. I think that's
Yeah, I think so.
Eight shows, and also they've announced that they're basically going to be week by week things. So you can't buy.
No, so they'll drop the first 3 episodes, I believe, and then it'll be week by week after that.
Yeah,
at least for the launch.
Yes, they had a really weird thing in their press release where they're like, "That's how most shows will work," but maybe some will just drop all at once. It's like, well, okay. But yeah, so $7.99 a month, you're diving in, you're getting 8 shows, and then most of those shows are going to be like 10 to, 8, 10, 12 episodes or whatever, around that range, I think. And so you're getting 3, so you've still got at least 2 months to go to finish any of those shows. I think it just kind of depends. Like, honestly, $7.99 a month, if you're watching 1 or 2 of these shows, yeah, I mean, like, you kind of know what you're paying for, and most of the shows look, they're expensive. Let's just put it. All of the shows so far they've announced either look very expensive or have such big names in them that they're like Jennifer Aniston, for example. She's not doing that news show. What's it called? The morning show?
The morning show, yeah.
Yeah. You know that she's not doing that morning show, which they keep touting as, by the way, even during the Apple event today as of recording. During that event, she's like, they make sure to mention the first time Jennifer Aniston's returned to a TV show since Friends. Like they're touting that as a plaque to get people intrigued on it. But there's no way Jennifer Aniston comes and does that show for cheap. So I would say all of the shows look expensive, and I'm intrigued, or at least interested, in all of the ones they're going to have day one. I'll say, like, everything they've got so far, I go, I'd like to at least watch the pilot. That looks really cool. Blah, blah, blah. So I can't say the quality's down. So for me personally, $7.99 a month to potentially watch a lot of high quality looking programs, I don't think it's too much to ask for. I know everyone's complaining at the moment because they're like, well done everyone, we've basically brought back cable, but cable's not like a concept we've really had in Australia. You know what I mean? Like we've always had like Ozstar, Foxtel or whatever, but that's like the extent of it, I guess. But most people I knew growing up didn't have Ozstar or Foxtel or whatever. It was like a richer household thing. Like most people just had free to air TV. That's kind of how it was. And we're now approaching a world where you can pick and choose what you want to pay for through these streaming services. And honestly, I'm not totally against it. As I've said a million times before, the ones that are shit will just die out. The ones that are good will survive. And if the quality of these shows are good enough, then I think people will be happy to pay $7.99 a month to watch these shows. If the quality of one of these shows is good enough that it requires you to pay for like 2 months to watch it all, I guess, I could watch a show, an entire show, and be like, that $14 to watch that? Yeah, it's $14. That's probably one of my favorite shows of the year. Cool, great. So, yeah, I'm fine.
If anything, to me, it seems like this, of all of them, is the one that's most susceptible to the subscribe for a month, binge watch the show once it's all released, and then cancel again.
Yes.
Yeah, because definitely with all the others, you have plethora of content. With this one, it's just like a select few programs.
The other thing I find of interest, and I don't know if this is just me, so let me know. Unless we're doing something for like, what do you want to watch? Where you're like, we're going to watch this old movie. It's available to stream on Netflix or Stan. Most of the time, all of my streaming services, I use them for their exclusive content. Stan, I only turn it on to watch Preacher or something like that at the moment. I don't watch anything else on there. Netflix, I'm watching Netflix original programs 99% of the time. When Disney Plus comes around, I'm primarily just going to be watching the exclusive content. If I want to watch one of their like movies or something, I would rather actually just go out and get the 4K Blu-ray. I'm probably not going to be streaming stuff on there like Star Wars or whatever. I'd rather just put the disc in and do it that way. So the way I take in streaming stuff is just primarily exclusive content anyway. I don't look at it like that's why I think the idea of this not having, a whole heap of other stuff to back it up doesn't really bother me, because I'm like, half the stuff I'm subscribed to, I watch for exclusive content anyway.
I guess it's just the perceived value that people will have.
Yeah, that's what it is though, perceived value, But honestly, like I'd rather take away the fluff and just be like, I kind of like this idea of them being like, yeah, it's $70.99 a month. We only have these shows. They're our shows. All of them are fucking top shit. All of them are really fucking good, and we think they're worth your money. I kind of like that, you know?
Yeah.
Is it only available to Apple devices?
No, I don't believe so. They haven't specifically said.
No. So I don't know if it's going to launch day and day. They haven't actually said, but I know they've said that you will eventually be able to, like, smart TVs will get an app. I think you'll be able to even get an app on, from the way I understand it, because they said it will be coming to streaming sticks on their news blog, right? Streaming sticks, which to me means Amazon Fire, Chromecast, or whatever, right? Streaming sticks. To me, if you got a streaming stick, then you need an app on your phone. So that means that, I guess, Android devices would get an Apple TV app later, and then you can stream it to Chromecast.
Maybe.
I don't know. We can neither confirm or deny, because, as I said, it only says streaming sticks. But it is coming to, like, Samsung, Sony TVs, whatever, through an app later in the year. So,
Unless that's carefully worded, because technically a Chromecast isn't a stick.
I mean, yeah. It also says streaming boxes, which I suppose in America is like Roku's and shit like that. The only streaming box we have in Australia is the Apple TV, right? The TV box thing.
Yeah, or one of the ones you buy through like a internet provider.
Thing like that. Yeah. So at the moment, it's still like, I don't know exactly, but as long as you have an Apple device, you're set. But other than that, it's very like
up in the air.
We'll kind of have to wait and see upon release.
Yeah. So it's worth mentioning also that if you purchase a new eligible Apple device, you'll get a free year of Apple TV Plus. Does that make you want to buy a new iPhone, Dylan?
I'm getting a new iPhone anyway this year.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Oh, what a coincidence. Works out quite well. But as I said to Simon Blackburn, if you want to hear about Apple, go listen to his podcast, Apple Slice, of course. I said to him on Twitter today, I was like, I'm like, if I'm going to get my phone through Telstra, I wonder if that deal still counts, or if the deal only works if you buy it directly from Apple. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it'll still work when I upgrade my phone.
I don't know why it wouldn't. I mean, the plan is to get you on an Apple phone and then get you on the Apple TV Plus, and then in 12 months' time, you forget that you're subscribed to it, and then they charge you.
Yeah, the giving away a free year, I think, is pretty good. Like, it's definitely not a thing where
surely
people
Telstra would foot the bill, at least. They're like, hey, you get a free year of Apple TV Plus. When you get an iPhone, pre-order today.
Yeah, I don't think it's like enough to make people, of course, run out to buy phones. No. Like, but people will do that anyway. I think it helps the service, if more than anything, because it means that people will be more likely to stick. Well, they're going to stick around for at least a year, you know, and potentially then tell their friends and tell whatever else that they're enjoying the content. Blah blah blah. It's just free marketing for them, giving away a year, I think.
Yep. Mention, obviously they've got a trailer for a bunch of their stuff, but the one they debuted at the Apple press conference or keynote, whatever, was C, the new series starring Jason Momoa. The premise is that it's a world where everybody suddenly lost sight. And then thousands of years later, they have babies, and somehow they realize that these babies can see.
I thought this looked really good.
It looks really good. The concept, I feel like, is going to be better explained in the show.
The concept, when anyone
explains
anyone else was explaining it sounds silly. The name is also silly. Like, even when they announced it during the thing, they're like, and now we're going to show you a trailer for C. I'm like, what a silly fucking name. But yeah, watching the trailer, it looks like it's shot really. That's what I'm saying. Production value. I'm watching this fucking trailer.
Apparently,
and
it was $1.5 million an episode.
I'd believe it, because looking at the trailer, it's just like, this thing looks like a fucking movie. Like, the quality of everything that's happening here and whatever else. But yeah, so the way, I don't know where it's being shot, but it looks fucking beautiful. The costumes on all of them look great. And I do kind of like this rather simple, I guess, apocalyptic type thing of being like, well, human race kind of dying out, no one can see anymore, and then the babies, it's always something about the babies in these things, you know, the baby can suddenly do, the kids are suddenly, you know, something like that. But whatever, it's a cool concept. And then you see in the trailer different tribes are like kind of disagreeing on what should be done about the babies or something like that, and then they're having to fight. And there's one cool sequence near the end of the trailer where you see Jason Momoa out there, and he's like getting ready for battle, and like, because they're all blind, they're very much like doing the whole like, their senses are more attuned, I guess, you know, like as they've evolved.
They're all Daredevil.
The hearing. Yeah, they're all Daredevil, basically. And you see these other people like climbing up the side of this hill coming for them and whatever else. I'm like, Yeah, yes, I would like to watch this. I like Jason Momoa. I'd like to see him run around and fucking do fighting with people.
He's got some cool axe thing. It's gonna be great.
He always throws a fucking... I think it's in his contract these days. Can you do this, Jason? No. Can I throw a fucking axe? There's no axe throwing in this movie. You play a lawyer. Well, that fucking lawyer better throw an axe at some point in this movie, you know? Like,
I'll settle for a large knife.
Yeah, I need to be able to throw something. I didn't learn how to do this for nothing.
But yeah, interesting. So Apple TV Plus, we'll see. At least it does get a few days lead time ahead of Disney Plus. So
yes. Well, I'll say this: we're going to hear about it anyway, because even if I don't get a year plus, even if I don't get a year free, it's still I still have a month trial to at least jump on and try things out. You know, either way, I'm going to be watching some of these shows to report back on this podcast.
Okay, good. So reporting out of Venice Film Festival, the big winner there is Joker, taking out the Golden Lion Award for Best Film at the Venice Film Festival. It is getting pretty solid reviews. It's currently sitting at a 77 on Rotten Tomatoes, with like an average score of like 73, I think. Out of 73 critics, it doesn't have an average score. But it is being very divisive online. Scott Feinberg from the Hollywood Reporter said, Joker is very well made and Joaquin Phoenix is incredible, yes, Oscar-worthy, but I must say that the film is also deeply disturbing and I fear could incite real-world problems. Gun violence, mental illness, and random senseless killings don't play like they used to at the movies. Do you think this is an actual concern for the Joker film? Do you think it's going to actually cause issues? Do you think people are going to steer away from it because of the subject matter?
I think of course this was a big thing on the internet and people was getting all huffed and puffed about it on either way. I would say I fall in the middle because I kind of like I like hearing when people are like this movie. I don't like the idea of this movie because I think it's going to inspire like a hero character for white supremacists, like crazy kids out there shooting up places. Like people like to point out the fact that someone literally dressed up as the Joker and went into a movie theater and fucking shot people up, right? They like to point out that having a character and the way the movie presents a character, that it could be problematic and it could present this character who should be a hero but presents him somewhat as a hero and likable to people who just need that extra push sometimes. You know what I'm saying? People have been pointing this out. And I will say that I think that is interesting. I 100% agree that for certain people that is a thing. But at the same time, I don't think... Like, there's no world I want to live in where people can't make the movie because they're afraid of this thing. Is it fucked up that people could probably watch this and be like, oh, the Joker's my hero. Like, he represents everything I love, and I'm going to go out and do some messed up, fucked up things. That is absolutely horrible, and of course, I don't want that to happen. But at the same time, no, we should not be worried about, like, censoring movies tackling certain storylines and stuff. So that's what I'm saying. I fall in the middle where I'm actually open to hearing... You know, like I'm open to hearing, but all week on Twitter, I kind of got sick of it. People just constantly retweeting about like, you're trying to censor movies. I'm like, these people aren't trying to censor movies. They just wrote a fucking blog post where they was talking about how the movie made them feel. Fucking calm down. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Nick, do you have any opinions, thoughts, feelings?
I think if people are going to go out and do shit like that, they're going to do it anyway, regardless. If it's not the Joker movie, it'll be something else that triggers them. I just think people should be able to create the art they want to create. Like, I'm probably misquoting it, but like, art's meant to make people think and confront people's views and stuff. That I think this fits into that category. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I can't say anything without having seen it.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue because a ton of people who are weighing in, obviously the majority of people who are weighing in on this haven't seen the actual film since they only had a handful of screenings over in Venice. And it's not many people, well, I think it's screening at TIFF at the moment as well, so...
But I tell you what, they're fucking pushing the ads on this movie so hard on everything that I've seen.
I haven't seen much. Yeah. I don't know whether that's just...
Like... My wife's been watching The Block and I've been present. Oh, okay. And like there's been like 30-second snippets like 5 times every ad break, and then because I watch Game Pass, it shows the American broadcast and their ads too, and that's played ad nauseum in between the ads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, yeah, they're pushing it hard. I mean, I'm not surprised DC doesn't, or Warner Brothers doesn't have a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it'll affect their bottom line. I feel like people are going to go out in droves and see this, seeing as it being pushed as an Oscar contender this year as well. Obviously, the Golden Lion, the past few winners, I think, have been The Shape of Water won it a few years ago, and obviously that won the Academy Award for Best Film that year, and then Roma won it last year, and so arguably it should have won it last year. So
I won't have you disparage the Green Book's good name.
have you seen the Green Book yet?
No.
Okay.
I've seen the trailer.
I without seeing this movie, I'm gonna chuck this bet out here straight away and feel very confident this movie will not win Best Picture.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck no.
There's no way that the Academy would ever give Best Picture to a movie that centers around such a character as the Joker. I think that's pretty. To me, that's pretty cut and dried. There's no way this movie wins an Oscar.
Could be transcendent.
Do you think Joaquin Phoenix wins?
I
mean, the Joker has a pretty good history with Academy Awards.
Yes, he could get Best Actor. I would just, my line is drawn at this getting Best Picture, no matter how good it is. I could leave the theater and say 10 out of 10, I love this movie. I'm going to stick to what I say now, which is this doesn't have a chance at Best Picture.
I wonder if it would have a chance if it wasn't based on an existing comic property. If it wasn't the Joker, but, I don't know, just some random made-up character, but it's the exact same story.
Maybe, because I guess, like, the thing with all these people saying that the Joker's problematic character, from the get-go, from the moment they announced this movie, of course, you can't help but be like, it's kind of weird that they're making a movie about... Like, because in my mind, the Joker's evil. The Joker is just personified evil. And from the moment they announced this movie, I'm like, how do you make that, like... How do you make me care about a character that I already hate? Because this is the thing. I'm going into this movie, as much as you may be like, Dylan, you should go into this movie with open eyes. Like, you know, this is a different Joker you haven't seen before. I've seen a million versions of Joker. In my mind, as much as I can try and turn it off, I hate the Joker. I love it as a character. He's one of the best villains, yes. But as a person, he's evil. I don't like him. And you want me to go in this movie and suddenly feel sorry for him? They're really going to have to fucking struggle to make me feel sorry for this character, is all I'm going to say. And I know that's what they're going to try and do because I've watched the trailers and they're trying to, you know, he's getting the shit beat out of him and whatever else. I'm supposed to feel sorry for this guy. I don't feel sorry for him. I know the Joker. He deserves to be the shit kicked out of him. Fuck him.
I don't think you can tell this story in an original way. Like, it won't play the same way because we all know going into the Joker how it's going to finish. He's going to end up as the Joker.
As the Joker, exactly. So
yeah. So if you were to make this film without the Joker property, you would go in thinking, what's going to happen to this guy? Yeah.
It's literally just Taxi Driver then. Like, this movie's heavily inspired by. You can literally see it in the trailers. You can see it in the fact that Martin Scorsese is a fucking executive producer and whatever else. You can see it in the fact that fucking Todd Phillips in a million interviews keeps talking about how much of a Scorsese fan he is. The movie, without being the Joker is Taxi Driver. And if you want to watch a Joker movie without the Joker in it, go watch Taxi Driver. If you've never seen Taxi Driver, it's about a dude who drives a taxi who gets pushed to the point where he's like, this place is fucked up. I'm going to go kill some people and do what needs to be done. He shaves a mohawk.
Are you talking to me?
Fucking talking. Yeah, that's literally the Joker, except for, I remember the first time watching that, I was more on board to feeling sorry for that character because I didn't go into that movie with preconceived notions of what that character is. Whereas I'm going at the Joker, going, this guy fucking shoots Barbara Gordon in the, you know, like, you can't be like, what's a different version? Tell it. I don't care. It's a Joker. Yeah. Evil.
So October 3rd, I guess, probably not next episode, but the episode after we'll be talking about the Joker. So look forward to that.
I presume that we'll do a
review discussion
as well, so look for that.
Yep.
Taxi Driver didn't win, but it was nominated for Best Picture that year.
I think Joker will get nominated this year. If it's as good as everybody's...
being nominated. I'm drawing the line at ever winning, just because of the character.
Yeah. Well, films can be nominated and just have no chance of winning.
Yeah.
So.
Like Roma.
Rome is way more an Academy type picture than fucking Joker will ever be. Also, side note, but just one more thing before we move on. Did you see these stories of people being like, oh man, see Joker's getting 10s out of 10s. Maybe the Academy will finally give some love to a comic book movie. And I've seen people like rightfully pointing out like, fucking Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture. What are you on about? Like, does it only count when it's a white crazy person? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, so in news that I guess we should have seen coming, the Tomb Raider sequel that's starring Alicia Vikander and was being written by Amy Jump, as reported back in April, is going to be directed by Ben Wheatley, Amy Jump's frequent collaborator. This
Makes
seems
sense.
a bold choice, an interesting choice. I'm probably not the best person to say whether he's the best choice for this or not, based on the fact that the only film I've seen is A Field in England, which me and Nick did not think very highly of. But obviously he's done a bunch of other films. The one people keep bringing up is Free Fire and High Rise as one's probably most directly related to a Tomb Raider film. But Dylan, as someone who's seen more of his work, what do you think? Is this a good choice?
So I haven't watched freaking Free Fire. I should actually go watch that. I'm a fan of Ben Wheatley, yes. And I think he has a lot of range. I think he's proven that he has the ability to tone down his more adult tendencies by the fact he directed a couple episodes of Doctor Who in the Peter Capaldi era there. And I don't know, High Rise is something to point to for Tomb Raider. High Rise is like this very weird dystopian movie. It's not. I don't know if it points to that.
I think
but
it's just because it's more recent.
I guess. But Ben Wheatley, I think, I would put him in like one of my favorite. Like if his name comes up, even though I haven't watched all of his movies yet, if his name comes up, I'm intrigued because I think he has just a very unique style, and I also think he's able to do heaps of different styles. There's also a movie he did, like for example, Sightseers, which is basically like a black comedy type weird movie where these people just go around killing people basically on holiday. I just think he has a lot of variety, and you know, like hey, he's doing Tomb Raider, which as you just said makes sense after they announced the whole Amy Jump thing a couple months ago or whatever. Like yeah, that makes sense. They are frequent collaborators. I'm open to it. I mean, if anything, he'll at least bring something unique to it. I'm hoping that as long as the studio doesn't get in his way too much, maybe they're like, hey, we need this to be like M. You can't make like an R-rated Tomb Raider movie. I'm okay with that. I don't need an R-rated Tomb Raider movie. But as long as they don't get too much in the way of him just doing a Tomb Raider movie the way he wants to do a Tomb Raider movie, at the end of the day, you're going to get something that at least stands out as a unique movie, unlike the last one, which just kind of felt very much like paint by number-ish. Like it really didn't do anything stand out. There's one sequence in it that's ripped from the video game that's probably the only memorable part from it, where like Lara's going down through the waterfall and all this sort of stuff. That was a cool action sequence. But other than that, I was like, what is this movie? There's nothing like memorable about it. Alicia Vikander made for a decent Lara, but she didn't get enough time to shine. So I'm open. I kind of like this. It's a lot better putting someone like this in as director and getting me excited than like announcing someone who I'm like, they're just a puppet for the studio. Nothing exciting is going to happen here. This is at least interesting.
Yeah. Nick, do you have any feelings on this? Are you looking forward to the next Tomb Raider just being a drug-induced fever dream?
Yep, I'm that excited that I'm going to go out and watch Tomb Raider 1 sometime before I'm dead. Hopefully.
That's what I want to hear.
You should try out some of his other movies to see if you like them, because they're not all like A Field Like England. You should watch Kill List. Everyone should watch Kill List. He did a movie called Kill List. It's probably his best movie. I think universally accepted as his best movie. It's a movie about a hitman, and then by the end of it, you'll either love it or hate it. The last 20 minutes, I personally love it, but either way, it's like a movie you don't forget. I remember the first time I watched it, I went to bed, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. So that's Kill List.
And then last piece of news I want to touch on is Paramount is moving forward with a Face Off remake. Yes, a remake of the 1997 John Woo film starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. The Oren Uzel has been hired to write the screenplay. He co-wrote 22 Jump Street and has writing credits on The Cloverfield Paradox and the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog film. So you know this is coming from good quality people. It's also got Neil Moritz producing, who's done Fast and Furious, Triple X, and Passengers, and as well as the original Face-Off producer, David Permit. Is this something you think we need to see? I would say no.
No.
No, but it also depends who they get to act in it, because if they can just get in there and be hammy, it'd be something to watch.
In your mind, who would you want to be the face-off pair?
Oh, fuck. Can we get Nicolas Cage again?
I mean, sure, but I think that's somebody else against... Who would you put up against Nicolas Cage, though? Who is that crazy that could play against him?
No one's that crazy, apart from John Travolta, which is the reason we don't need to... It's the whole reason we don't need to update the movie. While Nick's thinking, I'll say that the reason I don't think we need one of these, no matter who the actors are, is because no director could ever do what John Woo did. There's no director like John Woo, right? Full stop. That's it. The reason the movie works in the first place, as much as everyone would like to say, it's because of Keanu. Fuck it. Well, there you go. Keanu Reeves and Nicolas Cage.
Yep, there we go.
That'd be cool.
Do that. Do that. The reason Nicolas Cage and John Travolta are so good in this movie comes down to John Woo, his vision, his whole thing for this movie. The way he shoots action scenes. There's literally John Woo action movies. Like that's basically a genre on its own. And I don't think anyone else coming in to make this movie, as crazy as the actors could be, it's still not going to be anywhere near as good without John Woo.
Yeah. Have you come up with any names?
Keanu. That's
Yep.
all I can think of.
I've got some pictures. All right. Javier Bardem and Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
No.
No?
Too similar.
Too similar? Dermot Mulroney and Dylan McDermott.
Too boring.
Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds.
Too much singing.
What's wrong with that?
I'm not after it in this movie.
It could certainly give it a unique spin on it.
Okay. Will Smith and Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, that's probably the best one of the bunch we've done.
Okay. Jennifer Lawrence and Kristen Stewart.
No.
No. And then I think this one's probably the best one I come up with. Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, that's literally the pairing you do if you want to make money on this movie, yeah.
Yeah. But then they get to play each other.
Captain America pretend to be Iron Man.
Yeah.
Money. That movie prints money, actually.
Yeah, so they should throw their money at the pair and then make the terrible movie.
Side note, just since I just remembered, did you see that fucking picture from Tier 4? It was Tier 4, wasn't it? Where they showed Knives Out, and then they had the full like cast plus Ryan Johnson picture where fucking Chris Evans is sitting on Daniel Craig, or whichever way Daniel Craig and Chris Evans are like BFF buddies in that thing. I'm like, oh, Chris Evans is just a nice man, you know? Like I see pictures sometimes, I'm like, this guy is actually just a good guy. Good on you.
He is. I've seen his Twitter. He's just a good guy.
Also, it was nice to see the picture because Daniel Craig is smiling in that, and then like a day later they released pictures of Daniel Craig on the set of
James Bond.
Of James Bond, and literally everyone just looks like they hate their life and don't want to be making that movie. So it was a nice change of pace. I'm glad you enjoyed the Ryan Johnson movie and hate this James Bond one, because I'm more excited about the Ryan Johnson one than the James Bond one.
Oh, definitely. All right, let's move into our predictions for the 71st annual Primetime Emmy Awards. So we're going to be going through all the categories. I think there's like 26. No, there's a bunch of categories. We'll be going through all of them. And I guess we're going to see who's the winner. And I've put up that the winner gets to decide something that the other two have to watch.
I know what I'm going to pick, and Nick will be fine with it, but you'll hate it. So, but I feel like whoever gets a pick, me and Nick would just use it against you anyway. So
probably. Don't worry, I've got plans as well. So let's jump into
watch anime movie, Nick.
We'll start with the writing categories. Up for outstanding writing for a comedy series is Barry, the episode Ronnie/Lily, Fleabag, episode 1, The Good Place, the episode Janet's, Pen 15, and episode Anna Ishii Peters, Russian Doll, the episode Nothing in This World is Easy, Russian Doll, the episode A Warm Body, and Veep, episode Veep, which I suspect is the season finale. Nick, I assume you haven't seen all of these. Do you have a gut feeling of what's going to win?
Barry.
Barry. Okay. Dylan?
I haven't. No, I highly doubt there's any category here where I've actually seen everything. It's fucking. I'm definitely not going to say Russian Doll because anytime they nominate something twice, it's like an automatic. Like we did that, so we don't have to give it to.
Split the vote. Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Barry as well. Even though I haven't watched it, I know what the episode is, and I know that when it came out, I saw everyone on Twitter kind of blowing up saying how amazing it is. So I'll go with Barry. Sure.
I'm going to go with Fleabag. Obviously, I've seen that one, so it gives me... I've got probably a bit more bias, but I got a hunch that it's going to be a running theme.
You're betraying your beloved Good Place.
I know. I can't believe that people watch that episode and still lose... Darcy Carden is nominated, but anyway. Terrible. Up for Outstanding Writing for a Drama Series is Better Call Saul for the episode winner, Bodyguard for episode 1, Game of Thrones for The Iron Throne, which was the series finale, Handmaid's Tale for Holly, Killing Eve for Nice and Neat, and Succession for Nobody Is Ever Missing. Dylan?
I'm going to have to give it to Better Call Saul. That's the season finale of that's the last season finale. And I remember when the credits started rolling, I just wanted to clap. I was like, what a fucking episode of TV. That was amazing. So yeah, I'm going to go with Better Call Saul.
Nick?
I'm going to go with Bodyguard because the first episode, regardless of how it ended, was... The series, I mean, is pretty special.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dylan and say Better Call Saul. I actually don't know how well that's done at the Emmys, but yeah, I'll take your word for it. Then for Outstanding Writing for a Limited Series, Movie, or Dramatic Special, we have Chernobyl. Just the entirety of Chernobyl, I guess. Escape for Dannemora, Episode 6. Escape at Dannemora, Episode 7. Fosse Verdon, Episode Providence. An English Scandal. A Very English Scandal, sorry. And When They See Us, Part 4. I'm going to say category. Chernobyl's going to win this one.
Can I just say, as a side note, I just remembered that Escape from Dannemora thing's on Stan now, and I keep forgetting that I can actually watch it. Because for a long time, I was like, where do I watch this? And then I found out it was on Stan.
Always on Stan.
Yeah, I did not know until literally a week ago, and I was like, fuck, I can watch that now. This is a hard one to pick between Chernobyl and When They See Us. I think if they're just somehow nominating Chernobyl, like the whole fucking thing, because it literally doesn't have an episode listed, but maybe it just doesn't list it here and it's an error. I'd have to presume it's an episode, because if not, that's quite weird. But I'm still going to say Chernobyl, whatever episode it is, because that series is basically written perfectly from start to finish. I'm hoping it's the last one, actually. The courtroom scene, because that is like some of the pitch perfect writing ever. Yeah.
My heart says Chernobyl, but I think my gut, just based solely on the material it's about, is going to be When They See Us.
Ooh.
Or if that's, yeah.
Interesting. And then for Outstanding Writing for a Variety Series, we have Documentary Now, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Late Night with Seth Meyers, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and Saturday Night Live. Nick, what do you think?
Stephen Colbert one.
Ooh. Dylan?
John Oliver.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be John Oliver. Although I'm looking forward to next year where Desai Minaj is nominated for Patriot Act. Hopefully, that's good as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I was like, why isn't it on here? But then I was like, oh, wait, it's a new show, isn't it? Yeah.
I guess, but I feel like it's been out more than 12 months.
Maybe
it's hard to break into that category. That category is it's set.
Yeah.
Pretty
it's
much.
the same people every year for like 10
pretty
years
much. I think The Daily Show's dropped out is the only thing I think from last year or something. So it's tough. Next up, we have the directing categories. So we have Alec Berg for Barry. I'm just going to call them the episodes. We have The Audition from Barry. We have Ronnie/Lily for Barry. The Stockholm Syndrome for The Big Bang Theory. Episode 1 for Fleabag. All Alone for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And We're Going to the Catskills for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Dylan, what do you think?
Oh, why? It's hard. Yeah, all those sounds and more. I'm going to go with All Alone, Marvelous Miss Maisel. Because she won last year, right? For directing? Amy did? Yes?
I feel
Although she was
like
up there for
she did-
something. She was up there at one
she was-
time. So,
well, the show definitely won last year, so
what?
see.
I'm seeing her back again for this. That's it. That's my premonition.
yep. I'm going to go with Fleabag episode 1. I think that's very well directed. But Nick, what do you think?
Ronnie/Lily.
Ronnie
For Barry.
for Barry. Backing on that one. All right, up for outstanding directing for a drama series, we have Game of Thrones for The Iron Throne, Game of Thrones for The Last of the Starks, and Game of Thrones for The Long Night, Handmaid's Tale for Holly, Killing Eve for Desperate Times, Ozark for Reparations, and Succession for Celebration. Nick, which one of those Game of Thrones episodes is going to win?
Which what was the award again?
Best Outstanding Directing.
Is The Long Night the one before? Is that episode 2?
No, that's
Long Night is the
fight.
war, the battle, the battle for Winterfell.
I reckon that one's going to win.
I am also going to say that wins, as much as people hate it.
I'm also going to say that's going to win. It's the standout episode of that season, I'm pretty sure. Well, the second best episode of that season. As discussed on South of King's Landing, which you should check out if you haven't and are rewatching Game of Thrones for some reason.
You shouldn't be getting to season 8 if you're rewatching it.
Outstanding directing for a limited series, movie, or dramatic special. We have Chernobyl, Escape at Dannemora, Fosse Verdon episode Glory, directed by Jessica Yu, Fosse Verdon episode You've Got Pain, directed by Thomas Kail, that's why there's difference, and A Very English Scandal, and When They See Us. I feel like this is where When They See Us wins an award for Ava DuVernay.
I also think that this is where Ava gets the award. Because as much as Chernobyl's writing's tops, the directing is... I think the writing definitely stands out more than any major directing things, but I think When They See Us being such a more emotionally driven series and getting these performances from such young actors and stuff, Ava definitely takes the cake here.
Nick?
Chernobyl.
So you flipped them?
Yep.
Interesting. Then we have Outstanding Directing for a Variety Series. Nominated is Documentary Now, Drunk History, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Saturday Night Live, and Who is America? Dylan, what do you think?
Last Week with John Oliver. Oh. No, fuck it. I'll go Stephen Colbert for this one, actually. Stephen Colbert.
Okay. Nick?
Who is America?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Who is America. I don't. They've nominated episode 2. I don't know what happens in that episode, but I get a hunch it's going to be funny.
I think it's the gun one.
Oh, yeah, I believe it's the gun.
Yeah.
The gun lobby one.
Yeah, the gun lobby one.
So, yeah, that's a good one. All right, now we're moving into the acting awards. Best Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. We have Alan Arkin for Kaminsky Method, Anthony Carrigan for Barry, Tony Hale for Veep, Stephen Root for Barry, Tony Shalhoub for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Henry Winkler for Barry. I'm going to go with Henry Winkler. I think he picks it up again. I have a hunch, yeah. Nick, what do you think?
Stephen Root.
Stephen Root. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is his best role I've ever seen him in, I think. I'd want to say.
Cool.
I'm going with
Dylan?
Tony Hale. Tony
Hale for Veep.
Yeah.
Then in Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, we have Alex Bernstein for The Marvelous Miss Maisel, and Chumsky. I can't pronounce it. For Veep. Shan Clifford for Fleabag, Olivia Colman for Fleabag, Betty Gilpin for Glow, Sarah Goldberg for Barry, Marion Hinkle for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Kate McKinnon for Saturday Night Live. It's a lot of nominees. I'm going to say Betty Gilpin. I believe it's for season 2, so that's when she was doing some really good stuff in that season, so fingers crossed. Nick, what do you think?
I'm throwing a dart and it's landing on the first one.
Alex Bornstein, the favourite. Yep, okay. Dylan, the incumbent.
Alex Bornstein.
Okay. Then Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. We have Alfie Allen for Game of Thrones, Jonathan Banks for Better Call Saul, Nikolai Coster-Waldau for Game of Thrones, Peter Dinklage for Game of Thrones, Giancarlo Esposito for Better Call Saul, Michael Kelly for House of Cards, and Chris Sullivan for This Is Us. I'm going to say Peter Dinklage. Dylan?
Really?
I feel like they're just going to hand it to him for the...
Yeah. I'm looking at the list and I find it hard. Yeah, I find it hard to disagree. Yeah, Peter Dinklage. I mean, yeah. Same reasons. They're just going to give it to him. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick?
Sorry, I'm just looking at the list. What was the one from Game of Thrones? Not Game of Thrones. Better Call Saul.
Jonathan Banks and Giancarlo Esposito.
Gus or Mike?
Jonathan Banks.
Cool. All right. Outstanding supporting actress in a drama series. We have Gwendolyn Christie for Game of Thrones, Julia Garner for Ozark, Lena Headey for Game of Thrones, Fiona Shaw for Killing Eve, Sophie Turner for Game of Thrones, and Maisie Williams for Game of Thrones.
Fucking Lena Headey had like 15 minutes total time.
I know.
Standing and staring at it.
She's nominated for the Bells.
Nominated for
I
best.
guess so.
I mean,
that's
nothing against her. She's great in the show, but I mean that last season come on.
again. She only had to do good in one episode, and it was the one where she died. Spoilers. I'm going to give it to Maisie Williams.
I'm going Gwendolyn Christie. Fuck it. I know she's had to submit herself or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's a good choice. Actually, that episode's a good choice. The best
I
one.
mean, I don't know if that's actually like I don't know if that's like a.
I know they submitted
playing,
it. They
I don't know if that's me playing to who's voting on this, but I definitely feel looking at the list, that's who I'd fucking give it to probably. So,
Nick,
Fiona Shaw.
Sure. And then for outstanding supporting actor in a limited series or movie, we have Asante Black for When They See Us, Paul Dano for Escape at Dannemora, John Leguizamo for When They See Us, Stellan Skarsgård for Chernobyl, Ben Whishaw for A Very English Scandal, and Michael K. Williams for When They See Us. Dylan, who have you got?
this is a hard one.
Yeah.
This is a very hard one. I think I'm gonna go Michael K. Williams. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, Michael K. Williams. Lock it in.
Nick?
I'm going to Asante Black because he keeps up the performance that he did in the first episode. I think he's pretty outstanding in that.
I'm going to take a punt and go Ben Whishaw. Outstanding supporting actress in a limited series or movie. We have Patricia Arquette for The Act, Marsha Stephanie Blake for When They See Us, Patricia Clarkson for Sharp Objects, Vera Farmiga for When They See Us, Margaret Qualley for Fosse Verdon, and Emily Watson for Chernobyl. I'm going to go with Patricia Arquette for The Act. Nick, who do you think?
Emily Watson.
And Dylan.
Emily Watson as well. It's hard.
Okay.
It's hard to look. Yeah, it's hard to look past. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, outstanding lead actor in a comedy series. We have Anthony Anderson for Blackish, Don Cheadle for Black Monday, Ted Danson for The Good Place, Michael Douglas for The Kaminsky Method, Bill Hader for Barry, and Eugene Levy for Schitt's Creek. I'm going to say Bill Hader for Barry. I suspect that'll be a running theme. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
I agree.
I'm going Barry as well.
Yep. Then we have outstanding lead in a comedy series. Christina Applegate for Dead to Me, Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Julia Louis-Dreyfus for Veep, Natasha Lyonne for Russian Doll, Catherine O'Hara for Schitt's Creek, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge for Fleabag. Dylan, who have you got?
I'm going with Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Nick?
Natasha Lyonne.
I'm going to say Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think she gets clean sweep. Outstanding lead actor in a drama series. We have Jason Bateman for Ozark, Sterling K. Brown for This Is Us, Kit Harington for Game of Thrones, Bob Odenkirk for Better Call Saul, Billy Porter for Pose, and Milo Ventimiglia for This Is Us. Apologies. Nick, who do you think?
I'm going to go the This Is Us guy because that seems to be...
Which This Is Our guy? Sterling K. Brown or Milo V?
Sterling K. Brown because he's African American.
Wow. Dylan?
Bob Odenkirk.
I just feel like they're going to give it to Kit Harington.
I hope not. I don't want that. She's my queen.
And then outstanding lead actress in a drama series, we have Emilia Clarke for Game of Thrones, Jodie Comer for Killing Eve, Viola Davis for How to Get Away with Murder. Are they still making that? Laura Linney for
Yes.
Ozark, Mandy Moore for This Is Us, Sandra Oh for Killing Eve, and Robin Wright for House of Cards. I'm also going to stay on the train and say Emilia Clarke is going to get for Game of Thrones.
For this one, I will say Emilia Clarke gets it. Yes.
I'm going to go Sandra Oh.
Good choice. And then outstanding lead
Not
actor.
good enough for you, apparently.
I mean, I'm pretty sure she won it last year, so I mean, it's not crazy. It's going to be close. Outstanding lead actor in a limited series or movie, Mahershala Ali for True Detective, Benicio del Toro for Escape at Dannemora, Hugh Grant for A Very English Scandal, Jared Harris for Chernobyl, Jerome Weiss for When They See Us, or Sam Rockwell for Fosse Verdon. Dylan, who do you think?
Jarell Jerome. He played the kid. He plays the kid and adult version of the same character, and he's the standout from that show.
Nick?
I don't see how it's going to go to anyone but Jared Harris.
I feel like, I'm going to go with Dylan and say Jarell Jerome. So, there's that. Outstanding lead actress in a limited series or movie. We have Amy Adams for Sharp Objects, Patricia Arquette for Escape at Dannemora, Ajween Ellis for When They See Us, Joey King for The Act, Niecy Nash for When They See Us, Michelle Williams for Fosse Verdon. I'm going to go with Amy Adams. Nick, what do you think?
Is Arjun Ellis the kid's mum with the flat top?
I'm not sure which one is which actually. Without clicking on, I can't remember the last names of the characters.
If it's who I think it is, then her.
Lock it in.
Which one did you say? So
Ajween Ellis.
The kid's mum in the first episode, it's like, you can't do this, he's a minor, needs a lawyer, can't waive his rights.
Don't think so.
Kid with the flat top.
No, I'm not 100% sure. No, I don't think so.
Oh, that one. That one wins.
Just okay. Dylan?
I think I'm gonna go with Patricia Arquette.
Okay.
For medium.
For me, yeah.
All right.
But because every time I read about Escape from Dannemora, everyone says that she's like standout in it. So
Okay. And then we have the outstanding programming. Outstanding competition program. The Amazing Race, American Ninja Warrior, Nailed It, RuPaul's Drag Race, Top Chef, or The Voice. Dylan, what do you think?
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Whoa. Nick?
My heart says Ninja Warrior.
What's your mind say?
It doesn't have an opinion.
I'm going to go with The Amazing Race. I feel like that's a pretty safe standard choice. Outstanding variety sketch series, At Home with Amy Sedaris, Documentary Now, Drunk History, I Love You, America with Sarah Silverman, Saturday Night Live, Who is America? I'm going to go with Who is America.
Who was America?
Yeah, probably Who is America.
Both go? Yep. Okay. Outstanding variety talk series, The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Late Late Show with James Corden, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Nick?
The James Corden one.
Dylan?
John Oliver.
I'm going to go with Colbert. And then outstanding television movie, Bandersnatch, the Black Mirror special. Brexit,
Game.
Deadwood the movie, King Lear, and My Dinner with Hervé. Hervé.
I think it's Hervé. Yeah.
Hervé.
My Dinner with Hervé.
Dylan?
Fuck it, Deadwood.
Garbage.
I'm going to say Bandersnatch. Then we have outstanding comedy series. We have Barry, Fleabag, The Good Place, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Russian Doll, Schitt's Creek, and Veep. I'm going to go Fleabag. Again, I think it's going to be a clean sweep in the comedy for that show. Nick,
Barry.
And Dylan.
Barry.
Thursday. What a concept.
Outstanding drama series. We have Better Call Saul, Bodyguard, Game of Thrones, Killing Eve, Ozark, Pose, Succession, or This Is Us. I'm going to go Game of Thrones. I think they're just going to hand them all the awards. It's been the most nominated show this year, of any year. So I feel like they're just going to hand it to it. Probably not for this season, just for the achievement of the show.
Succession.
This Is Us.
And then probably the toughest category of the night. Outstanding limited series. Chernobyl, Escape at Dannemora, Fosse Verdon, Sharp Objects, When They See Us.
Chernobyl.
Dylan.
Chernobyl.
I'm also going Chernobyl. So that's
Copycat.
all our
You
predictions.
haven't even seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I trust your judgment.
He's like, I typed Chernobyl into Google Images. I saw enough.
I
I saw
see a
that
lot.
Chernobyl's the highest rated TV show on IMDb.
Yeah, that I saw pictures of Chernobyl. It's like really barren and stuff. I thought it would be really cool.
I saw people on Instagram taking selfies. So that was enough.
Yeah, yep. So, yep, that's the Emmy Awards. We'll probably do a broken news report right after the Emmy Awards, and then we'll cover our predictions either in that or next episode. But now we've got to move into what do we end up watching, and it's a stacked cast of things that we ended up watching. We'll kick it off with Succession.
I want a broadcast network. I want to see what other news operations we can sweep up.
Local TV?
Dad, nobody watches TV.
Why shouldn't we do all the news?
Well, Kim Jong pop, because that's not how things work in this country.
We have a major problem. He's erratic. He's making bad decisions. If he's not careful, he's going to destroy the company.
Emily, you gonna do something?
I think I'm the best option.
Oh, right, because you like playing boss.
This is my vision. I take over. You two under me.
Under you.
Can we think about it?
Yeah, of course.
I thought about it. Fuck you.
This family's broken, and that has consequences.
Kick out the old man, in with the new guard.
Succession aired originally on HBO in America June 3rd, 2018. Created by Jesse Armstrong, who was a co-creator of Peep Show. The synopsis is, although he has plans to step aside as head of Waystar Royco, the international media conglomerate controlled by his family, aging patriarch Logan Roy is contemplating what the future holds. He has lingered in the limelight longer than he ever thought he would, and now family members want to run the company as they see fit. Despite a best-laid succession plan, tempers flare over Logan's intentions. Kendall Roy, Logan's eldest son from his second marriage and a division president of the firm, is the heir apparent. As Kendall attempts to solidify his eventual takeover, he and the 3 other Roy children face a difficult choice as company control and family loyalties collide. Starring Brian Cox, Kieran Culkin, Alan Rucks, Sarah Snook, Jerry B. Strong, Nicholas Braun, Peter Friedman, Natalie Golds, and Matthew McFadden. Me and Dylan both saw this because, unfortunately, Nick wasn't able to see some of the stuff because of technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Dylan, what'd you think of Succession?
I'd like to just firstly say that I found it funny how you're like, Jesse Armstrong, who also co-created Peep Show, which he did, but also, considering the type of show Succession is, probably made more sense to me, like, the guy who wrote a bunch of episodes of The Thick of It and also wrote the In the Loop movie probably fits the context of what this show is a little bit more like. So this definitely feels like dialogue from Thick of It, In the Loop, those sort of shows, just without the pseudo fake, like kind of feels like those shows all feel like it's a camera following them around like they're real characters, like some sort of not quite the Office level, like where they're talking to it, but like more in line with that. Although the camera for this show is similarly like feels handheld a lot of the time. They're like close-ups of people's faces and whatever else. It is written really, really well, and I can straight away say from all of the two of these 4 shows I hadn't watched before, this is the one that out of all of them I'm probably going to put the time into catching up in, because I absolutely love this show so far. This show is really, really good. And I find it really weird that people, I saw online because I type it in, I'm seeing people giving it 1s out of 10s and saying the characters are horrible. How can anyone like this show? Oh, they're horrible. And I fucking love it. Like that's every character in this show is fucking hot. Well, apart from one who's a bit of a, because I watched the first 2 episodes so far, so I watched more than pilot. I watched the first and second episode, and there's this character Greg in it who's like cousin Greg. He comes in, he's kind of just like,
He's like the entry point. He's the entry character.
Yeah, he's like, he's not super involved with the rich side of the family. And by the way, the family in this show is basically the Murdochs. As much as they don't want to say that this show isn't based on the Murdochs, it's Murdochs, the show. Yeah. And this cousin Greg like kind of comes in and he's like super naive and like comes from like whatever side of the family and whatever else. But yeah, he's like super naive. You don't really hate him, but everyone else, they suck. Like they're horrible people. And there's especially one episode in the second episode. No, was it the first? No, it's the first episode. Sorry, it is. There's a scene in the first episode where they like all fly out as a fucking super rich family to go play fucking baseball on their dad's birthday or whatever. And there's like some people there just watching and like what's his name? Culkin? What's his first name?
Kieran Culkin.
Kieran Culkin like plays one of the sons, and he's like he writes out a check for $1 million and like says to this little kid who's just watching there like at the park, like if you run a home run I'll give you $1 million. And he like writes out all the whole check, and then the kid misses the home run by like 1 plate or whatever, and then he goes up to him, he's like, oh sorry you missed out on $1 million, it was really close though, and like rips up this fucking thing in his face. It's like, you are such a fucking prick. And the dad's a prick, the sister's a prick, like everyone in this show is horrible, but boy is it written well, boy is it shot well, boy is it directed well. I honestly, if I had more time, I would just very happily sit here and binge watch everything so I'm up to date, because I'm fucking loving this show. I wish I was on board from day one, because this is fucking fantastic and I can't wait to go back and watch more.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Obviously,
You hate it?
No, the pitch for this show was we would all watch just the pilots. That's all we needed to watch.
Have you watched all of it?
I've watched the whole first season.
Have you caught up in the second? Because the second,
no, I haven't gotten to the second season. I'm like, I've still got stuff I need to watch. I probably should stop. Just pause here. And
I'm jealous.
I'm not super in love with how everything ended at the season, but we'll get into that another time. But yeah, it's great. It's written pretty outstandingly. Even though all the characters are terrible, it's still fun to watch them interact and stuff. They've conniving and plotting against each other and stuff.
I was going to say this. This is so good. I've watched 2 episodes and I can already remember so many scenes and I'm like, oh, that's so fucking good. There's literally that scene in the first episode where who's the main dude?
Jeremy Strong, Kendall Roy.
Okay, yeah, so he's like, he's finding out that because the whole first episode, basically, spoilers for that, is that like he thinks he's going to take over the company and his dad's going to step down. And then on the dad's birthday, he's like, nah, I'm going to stick around on the company for a bit longer, whatever else, on his birthday. And then that pisses off Kendall. But there's a scene in the first episode where Kendall's like walking away to get on this helicopter and he's like, I'll pissy at the family. And he like rings up some news station. He's like, oh, I'm just like a friend of the family. And I've heard, like, he just starts like leaking information to the newspaper, obviously, to kind of start like a inner rivalry amongst them all and whatever else. It's like they're so like biting each other toes constantly. Kind of love it.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. It's definitely worth the watch. There's only 10 episodes a season, so it's not a huge investment. I think they're only up to episode 6 of the second season.
Yeah,
so,
that fish, yeah. Although I looked on Twitter, I started noticing randomly as I watched the first 2 episodes of this, that people I follow on Twitter were like apparently talking about how the most recent episode as of recording of this show, everyone was like raving about how it's the best and season 2's way better than the first and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, calm down, I want to catch up on the first. I also say I'd be highly surprised if and when Nick does get to check out this, that I'd find it highly surprising if Nick doesn't like this show. I feel like this is...
I'll probably like it. I like Brian Cox anyway, so...
And this is Brian Cox being Brian Cox.
This is Brian Cox being Super Troopers Brian Cox.
Yeah, I mean, he's being a dick, so...
Admit it, yeah. I mean, yeah, it gets to the point where he plays Brian Cox, but I mean, in the second episode, he's definitely not playing Brian Cox.
No, well, he's definitely not, for spoiler reasons.
Yeah.
But...
And I will say the first episode ends on a pretty solid cliffhanger, so... And again, the second episode, so...
I mean, yeah, I've watched 2, and both times I've just wanted to keep going, so...
Yeah. But you were rational, and you're like, I'm busy. Unlike me, who just watched.
Well, I've still got fucking shit, like a million other fucking podcasts I have to edit, apparently. So,
but yeah, listen for next week when I talk about where I'm up to in season 2.
Maybe I'll have.
You know, it's good when Ashley binges a show that's not CW or anime.
Yeah, that's how you can tell.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next thing that we ended up watching. Barry.
I don't know what to say.
Wow.
The acting class made me feel really good. I feel really motivated right now. These are professional actors. They're the real deal, and they say I got something.
You're a killer, Barry. Acting is a direct conflict. Being someone who anonymously kills people.
If you're going to be an actor, here's my only direction. Adapt. Adjust. Let the cat out.
When I first started in this class, I was very overwhelmed, but then I saw everyone else perform.
Forgot my line.
And then it was easier. There's always a million reasons not to do something, Barry. If you want it, go for it.
This is what you do. This is all you do.
Why can't I do both things? I'm done, Fuchs. Starting now.
Created by Alec Berg and Bill Hader. It's about the synopsis is disillusioned at the thought of taking down another mark, depressed, low-leveled hitman Barry Bergman seeks a way out. When the Midwesterner reluctantly travels to Los Angeles to execute a hit on an actor who is bedding a mobster's wife, little does Barry know that the City of Angels may be his sanctuary. He follows his target into an acting class and ends up instantly drawn to the community of eager hopefuls, especially dedicated student Sally, who becomes the object of his affection. While Barry wants to start a new life as an actor, his handler Funches has other ideas, and the hitman's criminal past won't let him walk away so easily. Again, airing on HBO in America, debuting March 25th, 2018. Nick, you've seen this one. Obviously, you've talked about it previously. Why should people watch Barry?
It's a great show. I don't know what more to add to it other than what I've said. They're all not good in a sense of being good people, but they're well-written characters, and just the situations he gets into and the dichotomy of trying to balance his criminal life and he's trying to fit into regular society, I think is quite intriguing. And it's quite funny at times too.
Yep. Dylan?
I watched the first 2 episodes as well. I'll say that although I enjoyed both, the first 2 definitely didn't hook me. Like, I could probably stop watching now and not be like, oh, what happens next? I'm not saying they were bad, but it definitely just didn't, like, whereas I'm the complete opposite with Succession, where I'm like, I wish I could just binge watch that. This is just, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching it, I guess, but like Barry as a character so far in the first 2 episodes isn't super intriguing to me. None of the side casts are super intriguing. I'm having a weird time understanding its world, which seems very fantasy-like. Like, there's so many things that happen that don't really make sense, which then makes me wonder how... I know, there's like even like random... Like, him just like shooting all those people, and like I'm like, are the cops in this show just like really dumb? Like, is that like the idea? Is it like, is that part of the plot that the cops are dumb? Like, or is he supposed to be
He's a
really...
hitman. He knows how to get away with them.
I guess, but there's also like in the second episode, he gets sent a hit on his phone, and then like they literally play it for a joke where it's like, please delete this message after. And I'm like, I guess I was struggling a bit to understand what level of like comedy, like how what's the drama, the comedy level on this? Like how I was struggling to understand how serious I'm supposed to take it. But that also, because everyone keeps saying there's that episode in the second season that everyone loves and everyone raves about, right? And everyone says it's like so dramatic and like less. The second season's less comedy apparently is what I gather some ways, and more dramatic or whatever. And watching
Nick
the first 2
nodding.
episodes of this, I've struggled to understand how I get from this show, which is at the moment 2 episodes in, silly. I could watch it because it's only half an hour. Like, I watch it while having some dinner or something like that, chill out. Yeah, it's fine. I don't see how the show I've got from 2 episodes gets to the one that everyone's raving about in season 2, where it's like this big dramatic affair. So will I continue watching it? It's currently probably in the maybe pile, because I'd like to get to that episode that everyone's raving about, but 2 episodes I could do with or without, honestly.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, but maybe I've got like a super attachment to Bill Hader. I've followed him on Saturday Night Live for ages and that kind of thing, so I naturally endeared myself to him, I think. I think, yeah, it's super fun. It's weird, especially the world, I guess, of Los Angeles and these acting students who are a weird combination of not good and pretending to be not good.
Yeah, it's certainly kind of like blown up to 11 on those kind of stereotypes.
Yeah, so
how much did you watch?
I watched the first 2 episodes as well.
Okay.
Incidentally. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I'm definitely going to be going back and watching the rest of it, probably in the near future. I think, that acting classes and just the feeling of Barry getting something new in his life, I guess, was sort of connected, like, hit me, because obviously of him finding a new thing for him to feel not depressed about, I guess. That hit me emotionally, I guess. Also, Anthony Carrigan, who plays No Hank and is the bald Chechen mafia guy, he's great.
He's fantastic.
Coincidentally, he was in Gotham as Zaz, Mr. Zaz. And
Zaz. Yeah,
and he was always great. He was probably one of the best parts of Gotham as well. So, yeah, definitely worth checking this one out, in my opinion. Next up, let's talk about Veep.
White House doesn't want us mentioning oil or cornstarch or plastics.
This has been penciled completely?
Yes, front and back. Very little romance.
Okay, but what's left here? I've got hello, and I have prepositions.
Please welcome Vice President Selena Meyer.
Politics is about people.
Politics is about people. I've met some people, okay, real people, and I got to tell you, a lot of them are idiots.
Which way are you going to vote?
The way my principles and conscience tell me to go. Which way do you think that should be?
I'm genuinely sorry that my arrival here has caused you to become so self-conscious and gain a little weight.
He's such a... That's why I hired him. I need a...
Created by Armando Iannucci, synopsis is politics is about people. Former Senator Selena Meyer is fond of saying, unfortunately, the people Meyer, and a charismatic leader and rising star in a party, meets after becoming vice president are nothing like she expected, but everything she was warned about. Veep follows the VP as she puts out political fires, juggles her public schedule and private life, does everything within her limited powers to improve her dysfunctional relationship with the chief executive. Meyer's trusted and not so trusted sidekicks include Chief of Staff Amy, one-time spokesman Mike, and right-hand man Gary. Again, from HBO, and originally debuting April 22nd, 2012. I'm surprisingly never watched this. Obviously, it's a long-standing comedy series. Nick, had you watched this before?
No, it's a show I've always been meaning to get to, based solely on the pedigree it come from with Ariam, whatever, I can't pronounce his name.
Armando Iannucci.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
It's a fun name to say.
Yeah.
And again, you weren't able to see this due to technical difficulties.
Yes.
But Dylan, what do you think?
Because Foxtel are technically inept.
Accurate.
I watched this back when it originally was airing, back when I did illegal things. So I was watching it back when it started, and then I stopped watching because I became a good boy and I had unable ways to watch it. But it's a show I'd like to go back and actually catch up on because I think it's very good. The reason I checked it out originally was because Armando Iannucci, how we say his name, because I was a fan of the thick of it, and it was like, well, he's now doing another show and it's basically the thick of it but in US politics, and I was like, cool, sounds great to me. Like, sign me up. And it's pretty much the exact same. Like, if you've watched the thick of it, if you've watched In the Loop, even if you've watched Death of Stalin, all of these things are kind of written and shot the exact same sort of way. And Veep is no different. Like, it's a lot of these characters just interacting with each other, having funny one-liners. I think it's definitely like political comedy, though. That doesn't mean you need to be super into US politics to understand it. But at the same time, I definitely feel like if you're like super naive to anything, then the jokes obviously aren't going to hit for you as well. And also, a big difference between Veep and the thick of it is that this show doesn't have like a Peter Capaldi equivalent. Like, the thing about the thick of it is you could miss some of the more subtle jokes, but then Peter Capaldi be in the background be like, you fucking cunt, you're a dumb fucking cunt, sit the fuck down. And it's like, well, everyone's going to find that funny, you know? Like, so there was always like that show I felt like could balance out like more subtle humor with just straight up Peter Capaldi yelling at people, which is always quite funny. This show doesn't have that though, but it's I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is great in it. Tony Hale is the her side advisor dude or whatever. I can't remember what his exact role is, but he's very, very good in this. I think this is the first thing I ever saw him actually, and now I can't. Anytime I see him in anything, I just think of him from this show. So that's that. Matt Walsh is that his name? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's also really good in this as well. So yeah, I think it's like you're either into these types of shows where you're just quite happy to watch Julia Louis-Dreyfus kind of run around, or like sometimes they'll go to like a political event, like a fundraiser, or like meet up with other like politics or something, politicians and these sorts of things. And that's the show. Like there's no big slapstick type of stuff. It all comes from watching characters, and they're purposely kind of written inept at times to make fun of, politicians and these sorts of things and how they work. From this side of thing, if you don't get what the Veep thing is, it's like vice
president.
Yeah, vice president. Yeah. And that's kind of hits off in the first episode, of course. Like she fucking has to swap shoes or whatever it is, and like run down the corridor to find the president's office and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it's a good show. Yeah. But you haven't seen it before, so what do you think?
I haven't seen it before. I've only watched the pilot. It's fine. I mean, it did. I feel like it'll grow on people. I feel like you need to watch a few episodes before you can really get the character dynamics and feel everything. It is a very standard episode, just sort of building the world and setting up new people being added to this initial group. So I feel like it's probably the weakest Veep episode under it, I would imagine. But there's enough there for me to be interested in. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is very good. I like Tony Hale. I saw an interview with the Jonah guy, so I automatically liked him, even though he's a bit of a douche and that kind of thing. But I did like Mike, but he seems to be constantly making pop culture references, which was kind of, I feel like, a bit too shoehorned in. Everything he said was like a reference to something else. But yeah, other than that, I'll probably might check it out sometime in the future. But it's out of these four, it's probably the bottom of the list. So let's move on to the last one. When They See Us.
Is my mom here?
It's just us. You and us. Who you were in the park with?
I don't know names. I just got lost.
Where did you see the lady?
One lady.
The female jogger was severely beaten and raped. Every black male who was in the park last night is a suspect. I need all of them.
What's going on with my son?
Your son was involved in a rape in Central Park.
What?
No,
wait a minute. Wait a second.
They saw you rape the lady.
I didn't see a lady or hit anyone. I didn't see any lady.
Kevin.
I didn't see any lady.
I want to see my son right now. Right now.
Whatever they said I did, I didn't.
Created by Ava DuVernay, the synopsis is, in 1989, a jogger was assaulted and raped in New York's Central Park, and 5 young people were subsequently charged with the crime. The quintet, labeled the Central Park Five, maintained its innocence and spent years fighting the convictions, hoping to be exonerated. This limited series spans a quarter of a century from when the teens are first questioned about the incident in the spring of 1989 through to their exoneration in 2002, and ultimately the settlement reached within the city of New York in 2014. Airing Netflix. Hooray, something other than HBO. Dropped May 31st. Dylan, you praised it previously on the show. Why do people need to watch When They See Us?
I was about to say, I can't remember whatever episode number it is, so it was so recent that you should probably just go listen to that if you want my full thoughts. But
just listen to all of them.
4 episodes.
Just to be careful, yeah.
Yeah, just listen to all episodes of when there's what do you want to watch? Catch up. But yeah, just briefly again, I'd say this is probably one of the most important shows of the year. It tackles a really important story. I still think, and a story that's really evident today, especially when they go like they make sure to show you how involved Donald Trump was with trying to kind of prosecute these kids and these sorts of things, and how he brought out the dry newspaper spread and all this sort of stuff. So I definitely feel like it's a story well worth telling today. Racism and this sort of behavior is still very prevalent in America today, so it doesn't feel old. It feels very now, still feels very relevant. Everything is shot. The acting in this is absolutely amazing. All the kids are great. All the adult actors, when they get further down, is great. It is also probably the most draining thing I've watched all year. I watched it over 2 nights, I think. I definitely didn't binge it. I don't know. I feel like you need a breather in there at some point. But as I talked about last time, I watched all 4 episodes. It's absolutely amazing. I'm pretty sure by the time I got to the final episode, I was just crying for like an hour straight from start to finish watching it. And then I jumped straight into the Oprah special to see her interview the real life people. And then that was just another hour of just sitting there crying. So it's very, very, it's probably the most emotional thing I've watched all year. And it's very necessary viewing for everyone, I think.
Yeah. So Nick, you like me only watched the first part. How do you feel about when they see it so far?
I agree. Emotionally, it hits you like a ton of bricks. I mean, it just comes at you and you feel overwhelmed and oppressed, which gets across the feeling is what those kids were feeling as well. But at the same time, I found it hard to watch, not as in the quality, but as in like, I found it hard at times to keep track of what's going on. Like it just felt kind of all over the place.
I think that first episode's done kind of on purpose because it is so, like, literally no one knows what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's effective in that way, but I just felt like it didn't work for me as well, in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I also struggled a little bit with this first episode, just keeping track of who everybody was and sort of, because they're all shouting out different names because obviously they've been called into this police station and then they've sort of been accused of the crime, even though it's pretty shot in a way where you never get the impression that they were involved at all.
Yeah,
which I guess it makes sense. It's gone from a view straight away where we know they're exonerated in the future, but I guess they could have played it up to make it look. But I guess it was being made by N and it was never going to be that way. This made me go, hey, Felicity Huffman, I don't really care that you're going to go to prison for like 6 months. For that, I don't feel bad for you after watching this. Yeah, she's a pretty terrible character, and just the way that she's, just all the police people in this are terrible, and that just watching them interrogate these young children for like hours on end is like really hard to watch, especially like the little 14-year-old. Yeah, it's a rough watch. I feel like this is like the setup episode, and we're going to see. The next 3 will obviously be better.
So the first episode's the hecticness of the interrogation and all this sort of stuff. The second episode is getting into the trial stuff. The third episode is kind of some of, like, without major spoilers, like at least one of them kind of gets out of like somewhat like on bailish sort of thing, and then you're still seeing how like the court stuff is happening, and then episode 4 like skips ahead to where 3 out of 4, it becomes like, if you're saying like the characters are hard to track down, there's only 4 main characters, and there's more than that in the first episode. But when you boil it down to the next 3 episodes, there's only 4 main characters, really 4 main kids that you have to remember. And I think by the time you get to episode 2, where it's just the 4 of them being put on stands and whatever else, and it's a lot less hectic, you'll probably be able to keep track of who's who a lot easier at that point, I feel. And then the 4th episode is where 3 of them are out of prison eventually, like X amount of years in the future. One of them's still in prison, and shows like kind of what happens there and whatever else goes on. But yeah.
Any other thoughts, Nick?
I'll probably get around to watching it, but the rest of it one day. But it's definitely not something that's high on my list at the moment.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like I do need to see it before the end of the year, just for content reasons. But again, it's like a hard watch that you're like, do I really want to be watching this?
Yeah, you got to be committed to sit down and watching it, knowing what you're going into.
Yeah.
Everything can't be happy flowers all the time. Jesus.
Why not?
This is real life. This shit's still fucking happening. Sit through it. At least these men deserve. Then go watch the Oprah thing, and then the part where the real life actors are crying at the real life people, and they're crying, and Oprah's crying, and you're crying, and we're all fucking crying.
All right. That brings us to the end of this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? Nick, where can people find you on the internet?
On Trakt at Lord Emperor, PRIOR.
Dylan?
Find me all places, Viva La Dill, VIVALADIL.
You find me on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. You can follow the Explosion Network, which this is a part of, at Explosion Pod. Go to youtube.com/Explosion Network to see all our video content, including our future review of whatever we said earlier in the episode.
Joker,
that's the one. Oh, great. You can go to explosionnetwork.com to check out my review of The Farewell. If you have any comments, send us an email at mail@explosionnetwork.com. If you want to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or just tweet us something, or tell your mum that you want to talk about shows, you want to hear about shows that make you cry. This is the one. Not just for
Tell your mum I said hi.
Not just for the shows, but for how we'll make you cry eventually.
What?
All right, until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess. Every Saturday, catch Arcade Couch Ashley and others when you listen to a brand new episode of Arcade Couch, the Explosion Network's variety video game podcast. Sit back, relax on the couch to chill with your friends and hear about the latest industry news, as well as our opinions on the latest releases and what we've been playing. Just search your podcasting app for Arcade Couch and subscribe for free now. Hashtag Physical Media Forever. Hashtag Physical Media 2038. Hashtag Cuties. Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight, we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content, and help you answer the question, is enforcing an embargo at a film festival a draconian form of authority and control? No, just follow the rules. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today is Dylan Blight.
Did you just say content? It sounded like you said content.
Gotta censor the content.
It's definitely not going to be edited out, so it sounds like I didn't.
Since this is only an audio show, you missed out because he said it, and I was looking away at my laptop as Ash was doing the intro, but then I looked back at the thing, and I see that me and Nick at the same time kind of do like that dog sideways, like, what?
Adults only edition.
Yeah, that's all getting edited out. And joining us today is Dylan Blight.
Hey, number one Bachelor in Launceston's Paradise. That's the show, and that's me.